Howdy, my name is Sanashi Sasuke. Welcome back to Reading 001. First off, I want to apologize for that weird tick sound at the beginning of the video. That seems to have started happening after I finally got a windscreen or whatever for my microphone. I'm not sure if there's static in it doing that or what, but it just screams a little bit now at the beginning of my videos, and I haven't figured out what's doing that yet. But anyway, in the last episode, we finally escaped Ouroboros, so now we can move on with the rest of them, and then from there, I can finally move on back to the original series, because the main reason I had stopped was because in the last episode of the normal SCP Wiki videos, one of these popped up. I don't even remember which one it was anymore. I probably should have checked before I started recording, but it's too late now, so let's check out Kate McTriss, a record. Let's see, Kate McTriss's proposal. I'm not sure what all of this nonsense is. The following containment procedure was unanimously approved by the site director's executive committee of the whole and the O5 approval, or council. Object class Thaumiel, subjective assessment. It was the unanimous subjective opinion of the site director's executive committee of the whole, SDECOTW, on May the 3rd, 2000-something, that the SCP-0 database entry slot should be locked to edits and only made available for modification with 7 private keys belonging to members of the O5 Council. It was the majority subjective opinion of them that the object believed to have been most recently designated 001 should no longer be given an SCP designation and should be stored in a standard high-value containment locker in Site-19. It was the unanimous opinion of them that no objective claims or statements should be made in the main SCP-001 page of the Foundation database under any circumstances. Only verifiably true records of the opinions of Foundation governing bodies in the past. Sorry, that's about to be it. I don't know if the microphone picked that up or not, but I forgot to start chewing a piece of gum, so I stopped choking while reading. It was the majority opinion, okay. Only verifiably true records of opinions, Foundation, blah, blah, blah. It was the majority opinion of the O5 Council on May the 3rd, 2000-something, that in the event that entity Thaumiel, Dr. Mary Nakayama, or any entity claiming to be either makes contact with the SCP Foundation, they will be referred to the O5 Council for negotiation and cooperation. It was the majority opinion of the O5 Council that no efforts will be made at this time to neutralize entity Thaumiel or the vulnerabilities of the SCP-001 database position. Description. It was the unanimous opinion of them and the O5 Council on May the 3rd, 2000-something that any statement of fact made on this specific SCP Foundation database page, Procedure 001 SCP-1 FTML, becomes objectively true. The prior unanimous opinion of them and the O5 Council holds that modifications to this page have vast and potentially infinite category a left room greatest concern reality modification consequences. The prior unanimous opinion of them and the O5 Council held that no further testing on these effects is to occur due to the potential XK, CK, LK, VK, ZK, NK class scenarios believed to be highly probable with said testing. It was the unanimous opinion of blank or them and the other pages within the Procedures 001 portion of the Foundation database have no anomalous effects, and that prior versions of the database leading to the believed discovery of the effects and the possible creation of entity Thaumiel ought to be stored as subpages in this directory for reference. It was the unanimous opinion of them that all blank spots on the Foundation database shall be checked for further category of left room reality modification anomalies, and that only a series of 1,000 thoroughly checked database spots shall be available to Foundation personnel for the designation of new special containment procedures at any time. So, Procedures 1. Foundation database changelog. Creating new SCP documentation. Trying it in the something thousandth slot, but the object's effects might move it over to 001. Had the admins unlock the empty 001 slot. Why was it empty? Convenient, I guess, just in case. M. Nakayama, February 18th, 2000-something. Oh, wait, I didn't actually read it. SCP-001 is to be kept in a standard low-value containment locker at Site-91A. Additional research into 001's effects will be the responsibility of Site-91A Chief Numerologist Dr. Mary Nakayama. Description: 001 is a vinyl record containing Esquivel's 1958 album Exploring New Sounds in Stereo, RCA. The album has an anomalous impact on digital numerical lists that contain it. The album, when listed in text saved digitally, will always be listed first, even if it was intended to be listed in another position. This effect spreads to all forms of digital storage. Affected devices have thus far included consumer-grade computers, mobile telephones, and graphing calculators. Mechanical storage devices, writing, and physical representations of lists are not changed by 001's anomalous properties. SCP-001 was sent to Billboard magazine as a review copy prior to its release in 1958. Its effects were not noticed until December 2000-something, when Billboard intern M.S. tasked with updating the manual files of review albums and magazine headquarters to a database format, noted 001's effects and reported it to superiors. Original suspicions of cybercrime attracted the interest of the FBI. Embedded UIU agents in the FBI Cybercrime Division turned over the object to Foundation custody after discovery. Efforts to locate the RCA employee or employees responsible for sending 001 to Billboard are ongoing. Primary containment theory currently holds that 001 was a crude attempt to manipulate Billboard's album rankings, which failed due to the manual typesetting in use by the magazine at the time. Okay. So is it just that because of this record, every time they try to put something in the SCP Foundation, it bumps itself to being number 1? Validation database changelog. Yep, moved right over. Weird. Funny. Going to look into this more. Might be some potential here. Also fixed a typo thanks to Dr. Amarales. M. Nakayama, February 18th. Description. Crude attempt. Okay, so is it just going to keep being the one thing? Important one-day revision to containment procedures. Is that a wink face? SCP-1 is to be kept in a standard low-value containment locker at Site-91. Additional research into one's effects will be given the responsibility of Site-91A Chief Numerologist Dr. Mary Nakayama. All Level 2 researchers at Site-91A shall give Dr. Nakayama $5 if possible over her lunch break on April the 1st, 2000-something. Oh, it's just a April Fool's joke. And then the rest of it is the same. Okay. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Her on April the 1st. She crossed that out. Apparently she is not the one who wrote that. Testing something. Now it says Dr. Nakayama's desk nameplate is colored green for easy identification. I probably should just open these so I don't lose track. Making a note about my availability. Cross that out. Personnel are advised that Dr. Nakayama will likely be unavailable until April the 9th, as she has been granted paid vacation days by Site Director Green for this time span. You really want to mess with Green for that? Or it's probably a different Green. Noting upcoming title change. Dr. Nakayama, Chief Numerologist at Site-91A until April 9th, will be promoted to Site Co-Director alongside Dr. Green at noon on April 9th. She will retain sole responsibility over SCP-001. Okay. Well, this works like I think it does. I've thought this over for weeks. It's time. I've locked this page down to everyone but myself and O5s. I think I'm doing the right thing. I really think I am. Pray for me. Everything's crossed out. Oh, God. Mary Nakayama, immediately after the saving of this document, will attain omnipotence and omniscience, rising to and becoming Godhead. She will span all time and have complete dominion over this universe and this reality. Everything under everything, and everything over everything will be at her command. She will gain all necessary mental faculties to process and utilize these abilities while maintaining uninterrupted consciousness. Members of the O5 Council will receive a note indicating the nature of SCP-001. Her family will receive a note indicating her love for them. Mary Nakayama disappeared from her quarters at Site-91A before 6 a.m. on May 3rd. She has not been located since. Document saved on Mary Nakayama's computer from the morning of May 3rd. To the O5 Council. When I was 15, I took enough pills to kill someone 4 times my size, downed it with an entire bottle of cheap vodka that was the only thing I had left from the man who used me and left me broken and alone. I sat in my shower with the hot water scalding me. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was dry. I was well. I was in bed. At the door, a shining figure, radiant light, hovered. It spoke to me with a voice that echoed in my mind only. It said I had greater things to do. I never saw it again, but I kept going. I believed that God had descended and saved me, and, joining the Foundation, how could I not believe? What else could explain the fact that we were still here, still marvelously, desperately, screamingly alive? How else could the fabric of our world, our everything, withstand such things that we hold every day? Something was protecting us. I prayed to it every night for guidance. I never heard its voice again. I had been touched by God once, and that was a lifetime of fortune in one moment. But when I changed the color of the nameplate on my desk just by hitting save on a text file, I realized something. The fabric of all things was open to me. I could put this power away, show you, conceal it, but what if this was what saved me? What if this was what saves us all every day from the abyssal terrors that rip and rend at our world's fragile stability? What if me hitting save on a text file was the birth of God? If it's not, then I tried. If it is, then I am watching. I will try to steer things right. It will take time. Wish me luck. MN. So this particular SCP allowed this woman to turn herself into God? Apparently? Or at least that's the proposal from this Kate McTierris person. I don't think that's the one I was led to. I think it might have been this Kalinin one. I don't know. But let's check out this Kalinin one. To site directors, Lister V. Research directors, Lister V. Mobile Task Force Captains, Lister V. Area Subcommand, Lister V. And Department Heads, Lister V. From Verified Overseer Account. Regarding SCP-001, urgency high. We need all attention on dealing with the current situation now. The first part is to put the rumors to rest and to get you all to focus on what we're doing next. This is the first and last time any of you will see an official transcript of an O5 vote. There will be no questions. The file for 001 is attached. We declassified it this morning. Go out there and keep buying us time. Okay, that's SCP-2798. Record of decision. Overseer Council actions number 16 through 47, Con 5. Motion as follows. Proceed with contingency plan 2798-5. To distribute means of effective suicide to global population in order to spare all interested civilians from SCP-001. Yay, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10, 11. Nay, 2, 5, 8, 13. Abstains, 1, 6, and 12. Well, of course, the Nazarene would have said no to something like that. Harbinger Doc, SCP-1 PDF, Continued Deliberations, A Night at the Movie, Standard Dream Report, After Action Report, Standard Dream Report, The Man at the Threshold, and Jackie and Aurelio. Is this another one of those 001s that's going to be a whole thing? Let me click and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to have to put an earmark in this one. As a matter of fact, let me just put this on the toolbar. We're earmarking that one. We're coming back to it. Okay, so next up is Codename Wrong. This is a bit of a longer one. Notice from the Foundation Records and Information Security Administration. Biannual security update. Item number randomization has been initiated. Until security update is complete, all files are locked. For emergency updates, please access Emergency Data Archival System, EDAS. Maria Jones, Director RISA. 7,076 items remaining, number SCP-001 targeted. One file identified with search term 001. File SCP-001 selected. Initiate automated item search, item number randomization. Scanning file for search term SCP-001. It's Euclid, and clearance designation is level 5, and it says here, the Forbidden City in Peking, site in which the definition of 001 and ratification of the Forbidden City Convention occurred. SCP-001 cannot be secured or contained conventionally, and it is unknown if it may occur in the future. As such, a reactive approach is to be adopted. Said approach consists of the following chapters of the Forbidden City Convention. 1. Prevention and minimization of the conditions conducive to the possible occurrence of SCP-001 or its equivalent via Forbidden City Convention Chapter 1. 2. management of organizational transition and unity following implementation of Forbidden City Convention Chapter 1 via Forbidden City Convention Chapters 2 and 3, respectively. Above all above mentioned chapters of the Forbidden City Convention are not to be altered unless via a unanimous vote by the O5 Council. Description: SCP-001 is a successful occurrence of a CK-class restructuring scenario, which generated the current reality via alteration of a previous iteration of reality. Based on first-person accounts, SCP-001 occurred on the 1st of June in the year 1900 Anno Domini of the previous reality. The nature of 001 is such that all causes, events, references, and memories of Occult War I, referred to as the 5th Occult War in that previous reality, are omitted and replaced with various anomalies and non-anomalous parallels in the current reality. Foundation documentation regarding Occult War I is obtained from anecdotal records of 13 non-anomalous human beings who retained their memories of the previous reality via a phenomenon coined as partial SCP-001 immunity. So they're probably the previous O5. However, the mechanism behind partial 001 immunity is unknown and will not be assessed as decided by the O5 Council. Efforts to identify additional individuals, if any, with partial 001 immunity are on indefinite hiatus as decided by the O5 Council. Below is an abridged list of events during Occult War I and plausible analogous events in the current reality. See document OWI for an expanded list. So, description: a global war occurring throughout the 19th century Anno Domini coalesced from 3 separate conflicts in Europe: Napoleonic War, East Asia, Davite Conquest, and North America, American Civil War. It is also notable for overt use of anomalous objects leading to an IK-class global civilization collapse scenario. Analog in current reality: a conflict in northern China concurrent with the Boxer Rebellion, whereby members of the Brotherhood of Harmonious Fists allegedly utilized unnamed anomalous objects. Although usage of anomalous objects was minuscule, the O5 Council lobbied for the term 5th Occult War to be official referent among organizations with awareness of anomalous phenomena, and it was officially acknowledged by the Global Occult Coalition during the Foundation GOC Summit of 1953. Coronation of Napoleon I. After his coronation, Emperor Napoleon declared Neo-Gnosticism to be the state religion of France and Europa to be its patron deity. Napoleon was crowned Emperor of the French in a ceremony presided by Pope Pius VII. No indication of Neo-Gnosticism or Europa worship is identified throughout Napoleon's regime. SCP-2515 is the only evidence suggestive of either. Davite Conquest of East Asia. Most of East Asia was invaded by a civilization of humanoids called the Davites, which I still don't know how to pronounce. Conquest began from the 3 northeastern provinces of the Qing dynasty. According to no recorded analogous events, records from SCP-140 maintain that the Davite civilization was destroyed by the Mongols in the 13th century Anno Domini. Domini? Manu. Anno Domini. That being said, Davite artifacts have been found in the northern areas of the 3 northeastern provinces. American Civil War. A civil war between the United States of America and the Confederate States of America. Both factions, among others, were supplied weaponry from a group named the Factory. The war gradually spread to Mexico and Central America following relocation of the Confederate government. No factory involvement identified, the American Civil War did not escalate beyond the continental United States. Thuggee Pacification Campaign, an initiative led by the Zero Anti-Cult Regiment to suppress the Thuggee, an organized gang known for harassing the Vaitula, who were deemed to be co-belligerents with the British East India Company against Davite incursion into India. Then the analog would be suppression mandated by the Thuggee and Daquidi Suppression Acts 1836-48 Anno Domini. Neo-Sarkic involvement confirmed. Vatican Holy Office for Secrets and Prophecies, an organization with awareness of anomalous phenomena affiliated with the Holy See. During Napoleon's invasion of the Italian peninsula, members have taken refuge in South America, Africa, and Free State, and the Middle East. The Artifact Section, a department of the Vatican Holy Office, defected to the Italian Unification movement and formed the Foundation's precursor Royal Office for Christian Artifacts. The Vatican Holy Office eventually merged with the Foundation in 1964 Anno Domini. Establishment of the Mexican Empire. Self-proclaimed as Huac, a successor state to the Aztec Empire. Subjects of Anahuac and media produced by them possess mimetic capabilities, which were used to subjugate neighboring states such as Texas, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, which is SCP-2155. The Second Mexican Empire was established via French intervention and ruled by Emperor Maximilian I. He allegedly brokered a marriage alliance with an instance of SCP-2155-1 prior to his execution. The East Tennessee Convention. Pro-Union elements based in East Tennessee seceded from the state of Tennessee following the latter's involvement in the American Civil War. The resultant state of Franklin was admitted into the United States of America and is the only state in the Union to separate from a Confederate state. The East Tennessee Convention ended with the occupation of East Tennessee by the Confederate Army. Instead, West Virginia seceded from Virginia and remained a state following the American Civil War. The Taiping Rebellion. A rebellion in Davite-occupied southern China orchestrated by a slave named Hong Renkun, who claimed to have received divine revelation from a deity called Mother Dragon, which is Document 2481. It was suppressed by the Davites following the destruction of Taiping capital, Taisui King? Formerly called Nanking prior to Taiping liberation, and massacre of the city's residents. A Type S event announced by SCP-89, which was resolved by an expeditionary force co-organized by Her Majesty's Foundation for the Secure Containment of the Paranormal and Estate Noir. Hong instead subscribed to a personal interpretation of Christianity and renamed himself Hong Qishong? Xuan? Quan? I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. No psychic involvement identified. Nonetheless, captured Taiping subjects exhibit signs of mental maladies. Nanking was temporarily renamed Tianqing while controlled by Taiping rebels. The Tumed Massacre. Systematic slaughter of about 150,000 ethnic Mongols in Davite-occupied Mongolia by a Davite thrall. Reports indicated that said thrall possessed two bladed weapons and possesses unspecified regenerative abilities. The corpses of rebels were taken by Davite forces for unknown purposes. And the analog is that the Jindandao incident similarly involved a massacre of about 150,000 ethnic Mongols, although it was caused by the Chinese secret society Jindandao. The existence of Jindandao in previous reality cannot be ascertained due to limited resources. So let me just shrink that back down. I feel like the document is probably just more things. The cause and origin of SCP-001 are unknown and cannot be ascertained. It is unknown if 001 or its equivalent have occurred prior to its known occurrence or may ever occur in the future. Additionally, it is unknown if 001 represents a typical or atypical occurrence of a CK-class restructuring scenario. In the event that 001 or its equivalent has occurred or will occur, it is speculated that a majority, if not all, of mankind and or sapient entities will have no recollection of them or the events prior to the moment of occurrence. It cannot be ascertained if partial 001 immunity is applicable to future occurrences of 001 or its equivalent. The definition of SCP-001 was finalized by the O5 Council in a 5-4-4 vote, and the Forbidden City Convention was ratified on the 7th of September in the year 1901 Anno Domini. Addendum: excerpts from the Forbidden City Convention. Chapter 1: The Foundation. The following organizations are to be dissolved and disavowed from their respective patrons, and their personnel and resources are to undergo merger. Her Majesty's Foundation for the Secure Containment of the Paranormal, Estate Noir, Czars Sears, Kaiserliches Deutsches, oh my god, Prüfamt für Paranormal, and Angela Genheiten, KDPPA. American Secure Containment Initiative, Imperial Commission on Transgressive Occurrences, Royal Office for Christian Artifacts, Special Investigations Board, Council for the Dutch East Indies, Inter-Africa Expeditionary Society, the Knight of the Military Order of Borgia e Aragon, Bureau of Anmil, Abnormality Institute, and Zeroth Anti-Cult Regiment. Why is this its own thing? Group of interests. Okay, so apparently that's still a thing. In their place, a unitary organization is to be established. The mission of this unitary organization is to secure and contain various anomalies anomalous objects in order to protect mankind from said objects. The referent for this unitary organization is agreed to be the Foundation. The following alternative reference, Institute, Organization, and Front have been proposed and rejected. The aforementioned 13 organizations in which the Foundation is formed from are henceforth designated as Foundation Precursor. Chapter 2, the O5 Council. The provisional executive administration of the Foundation is to consist of an executive council composed of 13 individuals from each of Foundation Precursor. The aforementioned 13 individuals of this executive council were selected due to the following criteria: leadership position in respect to Foundation Precursor, possession of memory regarding Occult War I. Future members of this executive council are not required to possess both of the above-mentioned qualities. The referent for this executive council is agreed to be the O5 Council. The following alternative reference, the Overseers Committee, Level 5 Council, and O5 Command, have been proposed and rejected. The function of the O5 Council is to facilitate initial transition from Foundation Precursors. Each O5 Council member is designated with a Roman numeral ranging from 1 to 13. Other organizations merged into the Foundation henceforth are to be denied representation on the O5 Council. Chapter 3, Groups of Interest. Organizations with awareness of anomalous phenomena that are not subsumed under Foundation control are hereby designated as groups of interest. The Foundation's default approach towards groups of interest is to pursue for their dissolution, termination, and/or assimilation of their personnel and resources. Addendum 05 1-13 succession note regarding SCP-001 file displayed is dependent on logged-in O5 account. Verifying login credentials, blah 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 blah. Okay, so it's all of them talking to their successors. Welcome, O51, to my successor. As the main editor of 001, I've already written all that you need to know. After 001, only the 13 of us knew of it, and we each stood at the height of our respective precursor organizations. Certainly, we were fated to take command and unite as the Foundation. As you can tell from the votes, there were 2 other alternatives for SCP-001 from our debate at Peking. They were ultimately voted down, but 2 and 12 left their marks on Foundation history. A pity that 12's limited command of the English language mustered a relatively vernacular term, as opposed to 2's and mine. Nevertheless, our initiative to speak up for the first O5 meeting will be remembered and honored in almost every SP article ever penned down. As for the Foundation's mission, I hope you and your colleagues continue our work. Let's see. To my successor. Santayana once said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." Now, the world as a whole cannot remember the past, but does it repeat itself? Yes, it does. During the Second World War, was there not another authoritarian dictator terrorizing Europe, and were the Chinese not massacred again? Of course, the details differ, and America kept itself together throughout that war. Maybe that civil war was occurred again in your lifetime, or will occur soon. Or that scaled-down skirmish was it. That still leaves the factory, but it is elusive. The product of an anomaly should be an anomaly in itself. SCP-001 and this world are no exceptions. Piece by piece, this world is undoing and repeating itself. For every SCP not, if not minimally, in our control, the process is ongoing. Until then, there will be chaos in the system. Once, I proposed that we guide the world back to its original state, but the others disagreed in favor of establishing tyranny. Ultimately, I acceded. There is no need to fight for my views. Nothing will change the process. No action is needed except to wait. Or in short, Keter. 053. To my successor. Anomaly and normalcy, both are subject to the consensus. Today's anomaly might have been yesterday's normality and vice versa. The Scandal 9 uncovered is one such example. Drapetomania is no longer anomalous when the consensus decides it no longer holds water. Apply the consensus onto 001. What is that? SCP-1851-EX. To the rest of the world, the occult wars do not exist. They exist only to those who know the anomalous. To those who know the anomalous, occult war I does not exist. Only 13 men imagined it to have existed, and that could have been SCP-001. However, the Council established our own consensus, and my opinion shifted to that when it was announced. More of us decided that we should establish order over all anomalous matters instead of suggesting that we might be the problem. That would only be First of the many consensuses reached where we held influence over the world's conceptions of what is normal and what's not. Perhaps they resulted in the world you have grown up in. Thus, remember these. Consensus has value, and to be normal is to abide by the consensus. Welcome, 054, to my successor. I'm one of the few who've fought in the front lines for both Fifth Occult Wars. I was gravely disappointed by the official Fifth Occult War, which is more accurately a skirmish. Those boxers simply can't compare to the Davites and Clockwork Worshippers. Even after turning almost every other agency and cult into our enemies, the Wainscot Society cannot compare to total war. Perhaps it is the youthful bloodlust in me talking. It's a frequent quirk since SCP-001 happened, like during Peking when I voted for Two's proposal out of impulse. I didn't care for his strange theory. I only wanted to fight on, so many sacrifices were made already, and I've made significant sacrifices as well. They cannot end in quiet days, but now I'm old and quietness will come for me. But you are here to fight on. Make sure that it does not end in quietness. I don't know if these are all supposed to be guys, but I figure I should try to give them different voices. Or I could just read, I guess. Yeah, I'll just read. Welcome, 055, to my successor. You know now that this world was once averted from total destruction due to an uncontrolled event, and because it is uncontrolled, we cannot guarantee if it can work again, or if it will be in our favor. We should not rely on uncertainties like SCP-001. As a species, we have mastered and stomped on all the beasts and lands out of the world respectively. Many crafts are now mastered by man, crafts that were once dreams. The restoration of the world is simply another thing to be mastered. If the world can rewind itself, we can do it too. By combining our resources, the magnum opus I envision can be reality. It might have been utilized already, or construction is still ongoing, but SCP-001 will be irrelevant when it's ready. By our will, mankind rules eternal. And that's SCP-2000. Welcome, 056, to my successor. We agree that SCP-001 happened, but we don't know if it is the only time it ever happened. Could it happen again? SCP-3557. Must the world be near its annihilation for it to work? How much is enough? What about transreality memory retention, a more accurate term than that ill-defined compromise? How does it work? Why only us? Can it be replicated? The list goes on. This unusual phenomenon's level of uncertainty surely necessitates quantification. Euclid is a reminder of that conviction, that more should be known about SCP-001. I suppose you would have that drive, cultivated by the Foundation's advocacy for scientific methodology. Containing and protecting cannot be the ends, knowledge is. But the majority of the First Council was too afraid to probe and wanted to either abandon it or be preventive. Neither solves the problem, really. But you can do your part in solving it. Only you can see this and have access to however little I can find out, so let that be your starting point. May you deliver results and bring meaningful data to SCP-001. Welcome, 057, to my successor. Officially, only 13 people were immune to SCP-001, but there's another. Jabril Amani. He was a consultant working for the Sublime Porte, and we met when I took refuge in Constantinople due to Napoleon. He was most hospitable, and we became fast friends despite the traditional enmity between Christendom and Dar al-Islam. We stayed with each other until the occurrence of SCP-001, where I find myself in Rome. In the current world, he managed to contact me, and I knew he remembered our friendship in the lost past. Meeting him, we spoke extensively about our memories of Occult War I. I invited him to join me in an upcoming gathering in Peking with other men who remembered the war, but he politely declined. Jabril would rather defend his friends and clansmen, especially when we knew that the Middle East was in chaos then. He was skeptical towards one and his affiliation, but I could not blame his suspicion and respected his wishes. We parted ways since then. When I took on the title of 057, Jabril told me that he would return to Iran to gather allies for his cause, Oriah Hub. Just as he desired to protect his loved ones, my obligation is to the world and I will defend it. P.S. Out of respect, I decided not to report to the Council about Jabril. I do hope that whatever organizations Jabril and the Council built in the end will not clash. We only wish to protect. 058. To my successor. As you can infer from the votes, there were 3 choices that ultimately led to SCP-001. One's proposal was really the only option, the others were stupid. 2 essentially demanded us to be anarchists, while 12 assumed that we're a bunch of lunatics who need an oriental drug. No thank you to either. Most of us have been collecting anomalous objects to begin with, so the Foundation is not much different from at least half of its precursors. As for the other half, the groups of interest will have everyone on the same page. You should have been doing this job for quite some time, so I expect you to keep it up. 059, to my successor. SCP-001 is the restructuring of reality, that's our consensus. Therefore, it's reality bending. 2 claimed that reality will inevitably revert to correct the world, which is similar to Scranton's famous address on the topic. That being said, the latter insisted that reversion would be caused by the reality bender. It might be hard to imagine, or hard to control sapient beings, although some scholars believe that an engine may theoretically increase the probability, which is grant request for the manufacture of devices to regulate. This prospect brings hope that the greatest known act of reality bending can be reverted. And when it happens, the world might revert to its previous state, complete with my home in the African Free State, where the IK class scenario did not really apply. It might as well be the previous world's only safe haven. That stability was lost after SCP-001, and I ended up working in a less hospitable setting. Even though I was not favorable to one's concept, the Foundation is by far a better environment. It is also a good place to figure out how to realize Scranton's ideas, or at least invest in someone who can. Despite the money and subjects I have supplied, progress has been slow, and I have come to terms that I might never again regain my losses. But you can, should SCP-001 happen again. You should continue the research in whatever way you can, because you shouldn't be like me and lose that which is yours. No one deserves that. Welcome, 0510, to my successor. There were 13 groups that started the Foundation, but not all of us stand equal. Take 12's Abnormality Institute, unendorsed by the Xing. But mine is similarly in decline. Our namesake was a witch hunter, but none of us actually met a real witch. An interest group was a more accurate description for the Borgia Knights of the late 19th century. If not for the memories I had of the occult war, I would have remained that way. When one spoke of his great scheme, I have my doubts about fighting the anomalous. Each new generation of knights is a shadow of the previous, and it shows. In Occult War I remembered my knights being annihilated by Napoleon's clockwork soldiers. They were, and are, not ready for an occult war or any fight against demons or sorcerers. To submit to one's proposal would have meant gruesome deaths for them again. As their Grand Master, I would not send them to their deaths. When the vote was not in my favor, I briefly considered to not oblige to the terms of merger. That thought perished when I heard 8's proposal to foster the unity of our newly dubbed Foundation. After that, I decided that my knights should at least die meaningfully against monsters rather than as a sacrifice. All of us die eventually. Make it meaningful for those you hold responsibility over. P.S. All things considered, the resources from the other precursors did ensure that the last generation of knights will be better than the previous batch. 0511. To my successor. Congratulations for your service to the Foundation. I imagine that you have to climb the hierarchy to reach this position, unlike I, who was granted this position by virtue of being the first. Your virtue must be astounding, unlike mine. During Occult War I, Kyoto fell to the Davites. Emperor Kume and most of the council were killed. The Shogun and his agents only fled to Ezo. Possibly Izo? I was among the few to have left Kyoto alive, but only because I feared for my life. I ultimately regretted my choices, and shame overtook me. Not even death liberated me. At least Emperor Kume passed away in a less violent manner in this new world. This brought me to my vote at Peking that we were hallucinating and the amnestics will cure us. Actually, I only want to forget, but the consensus was reached and I am not allowed to forget. One insisted that we were fated to work together, and no one else shall stand alongside us in this council. At least it was tolerable knowing that there were others like me. 3, 7, and 13 were very positive influences. My successor, I know not your colleagues in the O5 Council of your time, but they shall be your sworn allies. Remember that. Welcome, O512, to my successor. I'm sure you've heard of amnestics, and I'm sure that it has been improved over the years. SCP-3000. But the origins of amnestics as a whole is one of the many secrets of the Foundation. I will explain it. Amnestics was originally a secret of the Meng clan of alchemists. I married one of the clan's women to claim the right to make it. Originally, I wanted to cure myself of a series of disturbing visions, which we now recognize as memories of Occult War I. Before I could prepare the concoction for myself, 11 contacted me and told me of similar visions. Soon, I gained knowledge that there are more men who experience the same vision, and they intend to meet everyone at the capital. As a physician, it is my duty to see everyone's recovery, and I attempted to convince them that it will be safe if we take no unnecessary action. Most of them disagreed with my views, so they insisted on a democratic vote as per the ways of the West. Needless to say, my views were rejected. But not amnestics. 5 concluded that it is useful, for it can revert memory, vaguely similar to SCP-001. Thus, amnestics stopped being a cure for the illness I had proposed, but to cure the common folk of any knowledge of the abnormal. Unfortunately, Matriarch Meng did not approve of the foreigner's theft of her clan's secrets, and the Meng clan was one of the earliest groups of interest we faced. Their fate were as the Boxers were, although a junior or two might have escaped to Hong Kong with what little they knew of the formula. SCP-484. Please be of use to the Council, but if you have earned this position, you should be of use. And finally, welcome O513 to my successor. SCP-001 said that only the 13 leaders of the precursors were immune from its effects, but that was incorrect. There were only 12. One and I have known each other for decades, and I owed him a lot. Naturally, when he asked for a tiebreaker vote, I obliged. He filled me in on the Davite incursion in India to complete the deceit. When there were things I did not know of, I'd blame it on the British unwillingness to be open with my regiment. I suppose you might be ashamed of the title by now, but if not for me, I dare say we might have 3 different foundations at war with one another. For me, it was an opportunity to be treated more seriously by the Europeans, and I took advantage of it. Since then, I've made many amends so that others will not end up in my situation. Thus, promise me that you vote according to your will, not by another's. Scan complete. 40 instances of SCP-001 identified. Initiating random number generation. Number generation for what? Yeah. Okay, so that's that, the wrong proposal. And I think I'm going to stop there because this episode is running a little long. Imagine how long it would have been if I'd actually read the rest of the Kalin stuff. Or Kalinin. That would have been a doozy. So, that being said, thank you for watching. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. It will be greatly appreciated if you did. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later.